I've listened to the moving comments of some of our colleagues here, the impassioned speeches. I know it's hard to tell, but I'm an old white guy, an old straight white guy. And I have not experienced the kinds of episodes that were experienced by many of the folks here. In fact, I grew up in an area in the Midwest that was largely, almost exclusively white, almost exclusively Catholic. The great diversity in our neighborhoods was between St. Martin's and St. Al's, and you couldn't trust those people from St. Martin's, as my grandmother would say. That was the diversity that I grew up with. In fact, the issues of race I never really thought about, to tell you the truth, until I was older. It wasn't until I actually was in the Army. It wasn't until I observed, going through officer basic training, there were 44 men in our training platoon, all going to be second lieutenants, all white. And after becoming a second lieutenant, theoretically, you're commanding an infantry platoon of 44 soldiers, of which at least a third, if not a half, are minority. And so when I entered the Army, there was tremendous racial strife, tremendous racial strife. It was post-Vietnam, the Army was broken, there were incidents all over. No wonder. We had almost an exclusively all-white officer corps leading an Army that was between a third and a half minority. Things changed. The military, the Army, recognized that there were issues of leadership and reached out and tried to change the equation. Is it perfect? Has it worked completely? It has not. But what the military did is they reached out and they recognized that diversity among the officer ranks led to a stronger military, to a stronger national defense. And so if you observe today at West Point, last West Point class had the largest number of African-American women in the history of the United States graduate, that the entering class now is about 37% minority, which makes sense. I observed over the 30 years I was in and out of the Army that the Army changed dramatically from an Army that was broken, that was replete with strife, to an Army that was far more functional. In fact, perhaps the greatest Army in the history of the world. And part of it is because folks recognize that we are stronger when we have leaders who are diverse, who bring different experiences to the fore. We're stronger when we have leaders who lead people who can look up to them as role models. And so I stand in strong support of ACA 5 for a number of reasons. Because it's fair, because it's just, because it's right, and because it leads to a stronger economy and a stronger national defense. I urge an aye vote.